Welcome to Toy Tuesday. Hello, Rabid Wombat. Boom, 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 boom. Let's see. Seriously, sub for 1 month. Okay, cool. Hello, Aridens. Welcome, welcome. DC Collectibles. Still mourning the loss of that company. Oh, I did want to say, so we were talking about Spider-Man the other day, and I do have, see, I have one toy of Scarlet Spider. That's Kane in his heroic role. Man, I don't even know. They've since, I think he died again, and then I think he came back to life. I have no idea what the current status of this character is, but this is how he looked during that that initial Houston heroic run. Let's get the symbol. There was a 3 3/4 inch figure of this character. It was in one of the the comic book 2-packs, and it came with, I think, like a standard Spider-Man, and I never got that one, but this is fine. This is from the little kid line that Hasbro does, obviously. Actually, decent articulation, like even his little hands move. Hey, Patty. So yeah, so there's my Scarlet Spider. So yeah, DC Collectibles no longer exists. I still have a bunch of their stuff to open. That was a lot of stuff I would buy, and like it looks fine enough in the package, and I would just put it in my closet. And then no, I don't think Jess left with any of my toys, but I do keep a pretty close eye on it. So one of the last things that DC Collectibles did before it folded was this Icons line. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. Children are having an especially difficult morning this morning, so I apologize for that. Yeah, so for a long time, DC Collectibles had been known for, obviously, for making DC figures. A lot of them were really well sculpted. A lot of times they didn't have a lot of articulation or accessories. More recently, when they did things like Icons, they tried to change that up a little bit, give them more articulation to be in line with some of the other toy companies. Also a lot of these lines came with extra hands and accessories. Hey, Hudsonizer, hello, hello. This is Darkseid in one of his more recent appearances. That's actually his daughter Grail. And actually, what's kind of noticeable about this is that, like, these images look okay, but if you look, I don't know if it will. No, I don't think it's going to focus that closely. But they did a weird Photoshop job, and like this picture is really pixelated. That's terrible. Actually, both of these are. It's like they mixed up the high-res images. It's so weird. Anyway, regardless. Hey, Emily. So one of the things they tried to do... Oh, it does show up? Yeah, it's super weird. I never noticed that. So one of the things they tried to do is add even more... Yeah, and Darkseid is sort of like Apocalypse and sort of like Thanos, so it does make sense that they all look similar. So they added this, which I was really excited about at the time. And this, again, most of the stuff I open is a couple of years old. It's just been sitting in my closet for a while. So they made these accessory packs, and there were 2 of these. And the idea was, hey, look, we're going to supply you with a bunch of little bits and bobs for your other figures, for your displays, and it'll be cool, right? And it was cool. These were great. But just like everything else with DC, it didn't last long. They didn't finish the run. There were supposed to be... I mean, I think 2 of them came out. They had talked about doing this as a full line, because one of the really neat things that they included in here... Oh my goodness. Why does this not open? Oh, I see. silly trying to open it the wrong way. And you can guess, just from the colors, which characters got accessories in here. Boom. Alright, so what do we got? We have 2 itty-bitty batarangs. Yay! For your Batman action. But what's cool is that they give you different styles. Because as you know, different versions, different incarnations of Batman have different symbols. And that goes even down to batarangs. I don't know offhand who these belong to. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, so you got 2 batarangs. Good. They are... Actually, they're pretty firm plastic, which is cool. Often batarangs are like crappy rubbery things. They've got a grapnel launcher for a Batman or Batman family character, complete with a big old handheld thing, and then actual 2 suction cups, super old school, and then you can slide your figures back and forth. So that's neat. Obviously, you need a larger display or something if you're going to be doing that. And I don't think there's any figure that can actually hold that pose. So, but it's fun. All right, then we have Joker Fish for your Joker figure. Always horrific and fun to have. Joker Fish. And again, they went to a lot of work with these packs. I mean, these are really well sculpted. So another question is, okay, were these accessories that were intended to go with the original figures, but then they were cut due to costs? And that happens a lot. And then they end up with a bunch of accessories that never made it on figures, which they could possibly use later. And then they might have thought, oh, well, we'll just make an accessory set and just throw them all in. Hudsonizer DC has... excuse me, in the past made Legion of Superheroes. Yes, there hasn't been any for a while, but they are out there. Mattel, in fact, one year at Comic-Con, Mattel had a Comic-Con exclusive that was a gigantic box of Legion of Superheroes. So these are arrows for Green Arrow. Sort of 2 standard arrows, and then 2 more trick arrows. I assume the Green Arrow figure had a quiver on his back that was probably empty. No, it's not on here. And then Green Lantern accessories, which of course is why I bought this. So you can stick somebody's hand in there and have it shoot that out. You can take this apart and attach it to somebody. So I will add that to all of my Green Lantern figures. But then the coolest things, of course... So what we were promised, if this line would have continued, is a series of these little trophy cases. Oh, that's an annoying sound. So this one, if you're not familiar, this is the Golden Age Flash's helmet. And so this would have been a series of trophy cases with JSA, Justice Society items, and then you could sort of set those up in a little thing and have your characters around it, which would have been really, really cool. I'm sure they would have done the helm of Dr. Fate and, you know, all that good stuff. But sadly, we only got 2 of these, so they're just odd men out in your collection. But then, the one, the only, Green Lantern Chip. He's a space squirrel with a bow tie and a Green Lantern ring. And you better watch out. Now, if you're looking at this and saying, what the heck is that? This is a real character from the comic books. Chip the Green Lantern. He, classic comic book character, has been in the comics for a very long time. There have been some toys made of Chip over the years. Chip sadly died in one storyline, but then a new Green Lantern from his same home planet and same species came along, bd'g. So these are everybody from this planet has apostrophed names. So it's Chip and then bd'g or badge, some people say it. And what DC Collectibles and then some of the other companies that licensed, they realized that if you have little characters like this, they're also really good as pack-ins. Because, yeah, I mean, hey, rodents, you name it. Actually, I'm going to show you a couple of things right now. Because obviously this is a little guy. It's hard to sell just an action figure of Chip or bd'g. So pack him in with other stuff. So that's why we get this one in this cool accessory set. And then other ones that have come around. And I believe this one is bd'g. Very different style to him. He's got his little ring there. Yeah, the less said about Chip dying, the better. So there's this one. He actually stands up pretty well, balancing on his tail. And then there was a short-lived kid line of DC characters, and they even made one in that line. This one has like a really weird sculpt. The tail just really blends in with the head. It's kind of gross. But it does stand up because of that, so I like that. Yeah, this one is a little bit more goofy. Again, based on a very different, very unique artist representation of the character. But again, they realized, hey, we've got characters in other Lantern cores also that can make good toys. So in a set with bd'g, we get one of the dex-starr toys. Now, dex-starr once was a cat from Earth named Dexter. And very sadly, his owner was killed. And Dexter was mad. So mad that a traveling Red Lantern ring picked up on his anger, his rage, and attached itself to his tail. Because, I mean, while a squirrel can wear a ring, a cat clearly needs to have a ring on its tail, not its paw. So dex-starr became a Red Lantern and terrorized the universe along with his friends. So we actually have a few dex-starr toys. That being probably the better of them. This was the previous one. It's weird. It's sort of designed to like hold on to somebody's leg. It's not articulated. It's frozen in this really annoying position, making it really hard to display. And they gave it like a really wild look there. It's actually, the tail does move a little bit, but it clearly can't stand up on its own in any way. It can kind of lay down or sort of like hold on to somebody. And then for the 3 3/4 inch line, they even made a little itty bitty dex-starr. Painting on the eyes is not the best, but otherwise it's pretty good. Yeah, so I'm definitely a fan of dex-starr. And they got some of the other cores in on the game as well. Over the years, there have been really, really bizarro, no pun intended, Green Lanterns especially, but then some of the other ones, including among the Yellow Lanterns, there is a sentient virus named Despotelis or Despotelis, depending on how scientific you want to get. So there have been 2 versions of this guy. Or I guess a virus isn't gendered. That's kind of neat. One a little bit more phallic than the other. So again, anytime they can pack these in with other characters, and you're like, oh look, it's like more toys and actually more characters that are accessories. I love that. And then yes, to go along with what Hudsonizer has been talking about, there are some Larfleeze figures out there, the Orange Lantern, but as we find out when we meet the Orange Lantern, and later on there are a couple more. But what Larfleeze does with his Orange Lantern is every foe he kills, it sucks in basically their soul. He takes their souls, and they become his constructs. The most famous of which is this little fella named Glomulus. And we actually, at one point, we get a backstory for Glomulus. And he was this wretched little creature that would just eat scraps. And then was killed and became one of these guys. So he's got 3 legs, 4 arms, this weird little face. They did a cool job with the translucent plastic. I need a little light that I can use for these kind of toys. Anyway, so this was from a DC Collectibles figure. They even made it in the little kid line. This one is a little bit more extreme version of Glomulus, but you can see all his little arms and his little feet there. And then a 3 3/4 inch scale Glomulus. Yeah, and actually there was a Green Lantern smallpox virus that existed decades before this character was introduced. There's a Green Lantern who's a mathematical equation, so we're not even scratching the surface as far as the weird. No, I'm not making this stuff up. This is all real. This is all canon. I'm telling you. Yeah, this one does look especially hungry, which is appropriate for Orange Lanterns and their greed. So yeah, so now I have this adorable chip to go along with my other Green Lantern things. But like I said, sadly, this line perished with the rest of DC Collectibles, and that's all that we are left with. Cool. Move these off to the side. All right, let's switch to... Yeah, it does look like Orange Slimer. Yeah, especially this one. Yeah, it's ugly. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, so with these smaller toys, I forget the name of this line. There were a couple versions, but no, actually, this was the... There were a couple of different things I'm talking about here, actually. There was a line of articulated little kid toys for these, and at one point you got a figure and then like a weird larger kind of accessory. So there was a Green Lantern that came with a oversized blaster effect, and this was the thing that came with Larfleeze. I have a whole shelf of these little guys. Okay, let's switch gears. We've looked at a bunch of these before. Avengers, Age of Ultron, 2-inch scale figures. Oh, I forget that, yeah, they had all of these like really terrible playsets. I didn't get any of those. Mainly because they didn't come with figures. It's like, come on, if you're going to have a playset, it's got to come with figures. And these, I mean, these were just terrible, terrible plastic monstrosities. I do have the Quinjet though, and my son also has one of these Quinjets. That was cool. But so here we have Hulk and Hulkbuster from way back when. Oh, Hulkbuster is tied in. Now, obviously, both of these characters have been made a million times in different scales. Hulk didn't appear in this 2-inch scale very often, though, because I think because they kind of didn't know what to do with him, how big to make him. The scale of Hulk in the movies varies so greatly from movie to movie, scene to scene, that sometimes they're a little wary of just making a toy in a line with other toys, because like, oh crap, now we have to actually pick a scale for him. But here he is next to an Iron Man. He's pretty huge. It's not a terrible toy. I don't know, that head sculpt could be better. I prefer it to this one that they made, because that's a face that'll give you some nightmares. Why Hulk feels so much pain? Why are they called Quinjets? That's a good question. Arsenal Road 2K. I bet. There you go. I knew you would have the answer. So we have the Hulk. He's kind of sad looking, but he's all right. And then we have this kind of pathetic Hulkbuster toy. Now, as usual, the sculpt isn't terrible. If you look up real close, there's a decent amount of stuff going on. Paint job is trash. All that detail, so hard to see. Articulation is weak, just the arms move, but it does have kind of a neat feature in that... Come on. I don't want to break it, but I do want to get this working. Oh man, it's supposed to open. Ugh. Am I doing it the wrong way? Yes, okay, there we go. It opens! Hey! Yeah, if you're not familiar with the movie or the comic book, Iron Man, sort of a little bit like Batman, has contingency plans for in case any of his friends go bad. Especially the Hulk. So Iron Man builds this giant Iron Man suit to fight the Hulk. Hey, Jessica Nerdy! So in theory now, and again, like, look, there's actually a bunch of detail in there that they didn't paint. It's because of the sleeves, yeah. So in theory, let's see if it works. You can... not on that one, though. Where's my... Hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Thank you so much for the subscription. Let's try... No, they've got the same legs. If you smash him enough... Man, he is not... Hey, look, you can get an Iron Man inside. Almost. Oh. Well, it almost works. But as you can see, like that's the gimmick. I'm sure kids love that. Just love smashing those toys in there. I mean, again, like look at all that sculpted detail that they didn't bother to do any paint work on. Yeah, so it is an Iron Man within an Iron Man. So if you're thinking Space Marines, it's like a Centurion suit. Yes. The only other movie-based Hulkbuster suit I have is the 4-inch scale, sort of, this monstrosity. This thing is wrong in so many ways I can't even begin. I mean, you can tell just by looking at it, like, what in the world are the proportions they used for this silly toy? I don't know. Now, obviously, looking at this, Iron Man himself, he's not wearing this suit on his body, so you don't have to worry about exactly where the arms and the legs go. But at least this has a fairly human proportioned form, big and bulky and thick, sure, but this thing is just all over the place. The best thing I can say about this toy is that it was very inexpensive. But it's not a good one. And it has some articulation, but it's kind of garbage. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't look very expensive. Now, a funny thing with the last couple Avengers movies, the Hulkbuster suit showed up a couple times with Bruce Banner piloting it. There were a couple of larger scale Hulkbusters that were made that were actually relatively inexpensive. There was one by Diamond Select Toys. I think Sideshow did one, and they were like I'm trying to do proportions in my mind here. They were over 12 inches tall, but they were, again, for collectibles that size, they were not very expensive, which was kind of cool. But I didn't like the design enough to get any of those myself, but I went a little one. That's fine. Do the kids care if it's not right? Yeah, I don't know. I would imagine some kids would. This was the line that had it had like little infinity gems that could fit on stuff. So these were definitely more aimed at kids. These little ones, again, kid size and kid proportions, but I think more collectors bought these than anything else. Oh, you get to play Hulkbuster in the new game. That's cool. That is neat. Do a bunch of smashing. Oh, Jessica, this was my my Scarlet Spider toy. The one and only. And I do have, as Arsenal said, I have HeroClix figures of like every character and toy that I show on here, but it's not as easy for me to go and grab those. They're in boxes in a closet, so maybe one day I'll move those somewhere where I can access them a little bit better. All right. And yeah, I've got Hulkbusters in every. HeroClix too did a really good job with Hulkbusters of movie version, comic book version in different sizes and things. So I have a whole bunch of those. All right, let's look at something exclusive and still old. Because most of the things I open are years and years old. There you go. There's Spider-Cam. So, Comic-Con 2011. We've got Flashpoint, Zoom, Flashpoint. Everything changes in a flash. Get it? You get it? So Flashpoint was a major DC comic book event. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but it shook up the world. It started the New 52. Yeah, it's so old it just pops right off. So this is another. Actually, this was DC Direct before it became DC Collectibles. But again, this company is no longer with us. Flashpoint was a really neat event. And basically, the gist of it was, all of a sudden, everybody wakes up and the whole world is different. And so they did a couple months worth of comics, a main storyline, and then a bunch of littler ones where they got to just basically reimagine characters in... Why did I open it? Look, they made 4,000 of these. It's not that rare. It's fine. And because I want to put it on my shelf. Yeah, exactly, like Age of Apocalypse. So they got to reimagine characters in different forms, and then some of those were so popular and so cool that they have come back time and time again, especially Batman. But this is where you get evil Emperor Aquaman. Oh, come on. Oh, these twisty ties are the worst. Well, it depends, Jessica, it depends on what kind of toy collector you are. And yes, there are toy collectors who never open their toys. They have closets and rooms full of boxes, but that's not me. I mean, I do have a closet full of boxes, but they're all things that I do intend to open at one point. So the real kicker of the Flashpoint series is that at the end, while going through it, the only person who knows that things have changed is the Flash, Barry Allen. And he's trying to figure out what happened. And he sees evidence of his old nemesis, this guy, we'll talk about in a second. But then at the end you find out that it wasn't the bad guy who changed everything. It was Flash himself. Dun, dun, dun. He went back in time, tried to save his mom, and it screwed up all of history. Essentially. And then he tries to fix it, and then it breaks things even more, and then you get the New 52. So they did this action figure line. I have all of these, and I don't know why I never got Cyborg, but I also have what's the other one? Oh, Aquaman, yeah. But then I have a bunch of these in other versions and stuff. So here we have. Now, when we talk about Flash characters, what's the easiest way to make a bad guy out of a superhero? Palette swap, right? So here we have Barry Allen Flash from this line, from Flashpoint line. And then we have arch enemy here. Now, every Flash has a reverse version of him or her sometimes that's a bad guy. Right, exactly. Yeah, reverse Flash. It gets ridiculously complicated with some of these characters, who they are, where they come from, etc., etc. So we won't get into all of that here today. But obviously the only difference in sculpt is he does have a different head. And it's kind of gnarly. Definitely looks evil. Got that creepy smile. Now, the Reverse Flash enemy, so smug, exactly. The Reverse Flash enemy of Barry Allen is Eobard Thawne. Now again, there are other Reverse Flashes out there. Zoom versus Professor Zoom. it's a thing. So so Wally West Flash has his own Reverse Flash bad guy, and that's Hunter Zolomon, who's actually not a speedster. He can control time. It just appears that he's going it's a lot of comic book stuff. Eobard, yeah. The original Flash had a reverse version enemy called Rival. Yeah, there are a lot of these things out there. It's a decent toy. This is sort of classic DC Direct action figures, right? Yes, there's articulation. It's not really functional articulation. I mean, that T crotch is pretty bad. You move one of these legs forward and he's not going to be standing up very well. There's no ankle, so as soon as you start bending legs, it's like, okay, well, now he just can't stand up. And that was what DC Direct did for many years. Arm articulation is a little bit more functional. This is a later one, so it's actually ball joints. But again, like, they don't go very far, and what are you going to... I mean, I guess he could be getting ready to start running. It's fine. But as a display piece, though, it works. So Reverse Flash is going to be the same thing. And again, like, they added wrists, which are pretty useless on a toy like this, to be honest. But they can say, hey, we added more articulation. And then, thankfully, they have pretty beefy feet, so they don't necessarily need a stand. And again, like, they give you the most basic... Like, there's no logo on here or anything, no name, but it works. With the stand, you could attempt to get it into a pose, but again, having to have 1 foot flat on the ground really limits what kind of posing you could even attempt. Let's see. I suppose you could try to sweep the leg a little bit, but it's not gonna look right. Okay, he'll stand up like that, but again, that doesn't really look like he's running. He's being jaunty. Yeah, going up the stairs. Now, Flash is one of the characters that I like, after Green Lantern, of course. So I do have some more. Anybody know the Total Justice line? So this goes back a few years. And they're like, what if we took these characters and just gave them ridiculous bodies? Oh, Arsenal Roy, I'm not surprised. These were quite popular at the time. They're of a style, for sure. They had like weird clip-on armor and weapons. He does have to have that arm back far enough in order to balance, which is annoying. But another good example of, hey, let's just swap those colors and we'll get a Reverse Flash out of them. Now, it is important to note, Barry, Wally, Barry, Wally, Eobard, Hunter. Now, how do you know, right? Especially later on, well, at times, Wally's costume looked very similar to Barry's. So here's how you tell. Okay, you ready for this? Number 1, Barry... You can always see Barry's eyes. He has beautiful blue eyes and blonde hair, and he never covered up his eyes. This was very important to the character. Wally would have whited out eyes in his costumes. For the most part, he has green eyes. Now, here's the other way you notice. Look at the lightning belt. It's not actually a belt, just an accessory. Barry, straight across. Wally, it has a V to it. Now, is what I'm talking about completely ridiculous? Yes, of course. But it is a way that you can tell at a glance who your Flash characters are. And again, the reverse version will reflect those changes as well. And you can see from the chest symbol, it's lightning goes the other way. There's some white in there. It's different. Eridance brings up a good question. So, for a very long time, Wally was red-haired, green-eyed. In more recent comic books, they have split the continuity and folded it over on itself. So there's a Wally West, and there's also a Wallace West, who is an African-American character who was added into this Flash family. But yes, those are technically different characters. I don't know what to tell you. Total Justice came out in 1996. Hunter Zalman first. Oh, okay. Well, interesting. I guess I'm misdating. So then, okay. So this is that right? Hunter Zalman in 2002? That sounds late, but okay. Wally is mostly, Wally's, I guess it is a weird version of Eobard, but that is extra interesting because that's what they would end up doing with Hunter. Okay, well, hey. There you go. Thank you for looking that up. 96, huh? Is Wallace West an alt dimension of Wally with the same history? No. In fact, they gave him a different history. So in more recent times, the Reverse Flash is a totally different character, a different identity. It's Daniel West, I think is his name. And it like brings in a whole other. Oh, Arsenal Roy, maybe. I'm not. I know. Yeah, I'd have to look it up. I'm not sure. That could be right about this figure. This might have been a thing that came out later. Just used the same. I'm not sure. It doesn't. Anyway, this kind of toy thing would go on and on and on. When we got the Infinite Heroes, which, I loved this line, 3 3/4 inch figures. Same thing. And again, sometimes the palette swapping, like, it really at a glance looks like a different figure, which is cool. Like, they did a cool thing here with the eyes. The eyes. So we've got those. In this line. We've got these. Yeah, and that nerd, boy, let me tell you. So Wally West. So Barry is the not even the original. He wasn't the first Flash, but he was for a long time. He was a very popular character, and then So Barry died in 1980. When was Crisis on Infinite Earths? 84, 85. So Barry died, and for decades, one of the rules at DC Comics was that Barry would never come back to life. He sacrificed himself. It was the ultimate act of heroism. Wally, who was Kid Flash at the time, would take over the mantle of Barry and become the Flash. And that was, for that to happen and for Wally to be successful, that alone took decades for him to become the Flash fully, and try to pass it off, and then, blah, 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 blah. And then Wally is the Flash in things like the Justice League cartoon and, all this other stuff that was really popular. And then Barry comes back, and DC Comics pushes him to the forefront again, and then Flashpoint happens, and the New 52 happens, and oh boy, Wally fans were pissed because in the New 52, Wally just, at the beginning at least, Wally just didn't exist for a while and then sort of came back a little bit later. In more recent years, they have brought Wally, West, Flash back into full continuity, but not really the way people were looking for. It was just a weird thing. Yeah, I mean, it's... I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, it was Wally in the cartoon, for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there was the Dark Flash, and it's... Yeah, Wally is now, like, whenever they need somebody to, like, have really bad things happen to him, it's like, what's Wally doing? Let's grab that guy. A couple more. We've got the Jada Toys Nano Metal Figs. Did the same thing. Again, it just writes itself. Meeples. Yeah, these are fun. I like these. They're metal, they're heavy. So I think those are all of my various pairings of the two of those. I have a lot more Flash toys, but I think that's all of my Reverse Flash toys. Again, a bunch of these in HeroClix form. The meeples. These were cute. These are made by Cryptozoic, who was a board game company for a really long time, and then they decided to get into collectibles, and they're doing a pretty good job. I was so excited for these. They came out with Series 1. They were blind bagged. They were super cheap. You could pick up a bunch of them. They had some convention exclusives. They had a little Hall of Justice tin. They had plans for further waves, including some other really cool characters. And they didn't make enough money, and they're never happening. Made me sad. But at least I have the ones that I have. My son was much better at pulling rares in this line than I was. He has one of the Chase Bizarro figures. I was very proud of him. Yeah, some similarities with what happened in the Green Lantern storylines with Barry, or with Hal and Kyle. There was a big push in that era to reinvigorate those lines with younger characters, but then eventually bring back the older ones anyway. Because it's a bunch of older dudes who buy comics and collectibles. Shocking, right? All right, Flashes and Reverse Flashes. Get out of here. I don't have a lot of collectibles of the original Flash. I have a couple. It's a little bit goofy looking. For that matter, I don't have much of the original Green Lantern either. I do have the Mattel action figure. All right, let's see. Oh my god, yeah, DC, and there's just so much. We're going to round out with some My Little Pony with the ice cream stand. Are you insinuating collectibles are not marketed to children with full-time salaries? You know, the website Polygon just put out a story about Star Wars collectibles. It was very interesting, and they talked to a number of collectors from different websites they didn't reach out to anybody to figures.com. I don't know why, but that's fine. And it was talking about how much Star Wars collectibles have changed over the years. And it used to be that whenever a movie came out, there would be a branded action figure line for that movie, especially for the 3 3/4 inch action figures. And you'd get a ton of new toys, and they'd be marketed to kids in one form or another, usually with some sort of additional thing that you would get with the figure. What was the one for Attack of the Clones? They had something in there with them, but I mean, the best one of all, of course, was the Comtech chips that came with the Phantom Menace figures. Oh my god, loved Comtech chips. I have a gallon size Ziploc baggie full of Comtech chips. Those were so good. But yeah, over the years, in recent times at least, there have been fewer and fewer action figures specifically tied to movies. In fact, with the last movie, no 3 3/4 inch action figure line. There just wasn't one. They have done characters and appearances from that movie in toy lines, but it's the universe of Star Wars collectibles has diverged so far between, here are all of these things that are for collectors, and here's some things for kids, but they're very much separate and marketed differently. And the kids stuff is more what we call evergreen toys. So it's like a lot of Lukes and Vaders and Stormtroopers, not specifically tied to like, oh, that's, a collector would be like, oh, well, that's Yavin Luke versus this Luke, and want to collect each version. And when a new movie comes out, oh, I want that version of stuff. It's an interesting article. This is gonna be laugh. But yeah, just changing demographics, IDing who's really buying the toys and who they should market toward. Because for a long time, talking to these toy companies, they would always say, it's the big toy companies like Hasbro and Mattel, they'd always say, most of our toys are for kids, and that's where we make the most money. And then we also do collector stuff on the side, but it's not the same way anymore. Oh my goodness. Whew. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Kids aren't buying $40. Yeah, and the prices too. The price increases in the toy world over the last decade or so has been awful. But I mean, if they really try, toy companies still come out with some decently priced things. For a while, there have been a lot of 12-inch tall action figures for kids that have been really inexpensive. It's just that sweet spot of manufacturing and what kind of detail you can put in without it breaking the cost equation. All right, so this is an ice cream shop in Ponyville. They did this kind of weird thing with this later wave of My Little Pony. They tried to give sort of more, more character, more emotion, more expression in the eyes, but some of them end up looking a little dopey. It's well done. It's just, I don't know, that face, those eyes don't scream. Whoa, sorry, hit the camera. It doesn't scream Twilight Sparkle to me. I don't know, but it is Twilight Sparkle. I think this was one of the last Twilight Sparkle toys released before she became Princess Twilight Sparkle. Very important to know the evolution of your pony characters. And then we get a neat little building for your Ponyville playset. And they did a decent job on these. So this was... There's Twilight Sparkle there. So original cost for this thing, in theory, was about $10. I got it at Ross you can get really cheap toys at Ross. It's just impossible to find stuff, and you never know what they're going to have. Actually haven't been inside a Ross in over a year. So I got a few bucks off, which was nice. So one way they saved a lot of money in order to make what's actually a pretty good playset element is it's only the front half. But again, that's fine. It doesn't matter. You actually could play with this as an interior. You could put the little ice creams up there. It has a little set of drawers. There are a bunch of buildings in this set, or in this line. I don't have many near me right now. There was the Apple stand, and then it even has a window, so you can have somebody inside serving the treats. It's pretty well sized for that. Oh, and then this, in theory, should attach up here. Nice. That snaps right on. Cute. I love this stuff. But yeah, other buildings. There was a farmhouse. I think there was a schoolhouse as well. They did the bakery. Oh, I think they also did the treehouse. So they did a bunch of stuff for this. Is there a My Little Pony skirmish game? No, sadly. Sadly, there is not. A couple of companies have made essentially stand-in My Little Pony miniatures. The biggest, or the most famous one I know of is Impact Miniatures. They do a lot of chibi characters, and they do a lot of like 3D printing. Like if you had an STL, you could send it to them, and they would print it and then mail you the item, which is kind of cool. Apparently much cheaper than Shapeways and other things like that. People would make, for instance, they would make their character in Hero Forge, buy the STL, send it to Impact, have Impact print it and ship it to them, and that would all cost much less than having Hero Forge print it and send it to you from Shapeways, for example. But they did a line of pony miniatures. I actually have a few of them. They're resin, and I just never got around to doing all the cleanup work in order to build and paint them. But they seem neat. I have them somewhere. Hey, Zardoz! You heard me mention 3D printing, and you appeared. I know how that works. Here, let me grab a couple Twilight sparkles. Okay. So the original standard Twilight Sparkle, and then this version. So again, new sculpt. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like those eyes. They don't do it for me. And then Princess Twilight Sparkle with her crown and wings when she became an alicorn. And then in this line, they also did all these little special effects. Yeah, I have a few more of these kind of things that I haven't opened, especially the bigger ones. I really like this toy line. The new My Little Pony is coming out. I think it's coming out soon. I don't know. I haven't been keeping track. I've seen a lot of artwork for it. Or maybe it's out. I don't even know. But I don't know what they're doing as far as toys. At Toy Fair this year, at the beginning of the year, they are doing more blind box toys like these. It was the latest gimmick is it came in a little potion bottle, container, and inside the container was whatever the figure was in a little bag. And the bag, if you remember from the early, I guess this was 90s, a couple of other toys did this. The bag is biodegradable especially with water. So in the new My Little Pony line, you would open up the outer plastic, take out whatever the paper was, and then you've got this little bagged figure, or a figure in a little weird bag, and then you would add water, close it up, shake it up, and that bag would dissolve in the water, and then you would get your figure out. What was the toy line that did that decades ago? They had little monsters and robots, and it had that exact same thing with a water dissolving bag. Anybody remember that one? Shoot, I'm gonna have to look that up. Trash something? Trash Warriors? Oh, I think I'm on the right track, but was it Trash something? Damn! Oh my god, I'm gonna have to look this up at some point. I will figure it out. Arsenal Roy, do you know what I'm talking about? But yeah, and then Trash Bag Bunch. Boom! Thank you. Oh my god, I was on the right track. What was... Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, go look up Trash Bag Bunch. They had some neat designs. So like this is from that new line I got at Toy Fair. So they're the first, or whatever the current wave is, it's like unicorn, so they're all unicorn versions. Obviously some of the characters are unicorns, but they unicornized some of the other characters. So this is Angel Bunny, Fluttershy's pal, as a unicorn. That's right, Lackey. Yeah, it was Galoob. And that's some good toy history right there. Yeah. Neat. So today we had squirrels and ponies and mech suits and evil speedsters, all in a day's work. Oh, now I have to go put all this stuff back away. It's fine. I'm a little bit disappointed, come to think of it, that that he didn't come with his little stick. Sometimes he has a little it's almost like a wand with a little lightning bolt on the end of it. Sometimes he kills people with it. What are you gonna do? Yes, you missed Chip earlier. My collection of chips and bid'gs. It's a tough one to say sometimes. Yay! Again, not including the HeroClix that I have somewhere else. Okay. Yeah, the Micro Machine stuff, it's come around now and again, but I mean, there are new Micro Machines from what is it? Is it Jax or is it Jazzwares? One of those two J-name companies has Micro Machines. They're back. So far, it's just like standard cars and trucks. No licensed things in their Micro Machines, at least as of now. Gnort, I don't have any action figures. They did make Gnort in DC Direct made a Gnort. Or do I have one? Oh, jeez. I am just banging into this camera all day today. I don't think I have a Gnort. No, but I do have the HeroClix figure. Yeah, Gnort is that's pushing it for silliness in characters for me. Just like a purely joke character. Chip had some actually really good storylines. I know it sounds ridiculous, but he did. Yeah, Gnort, he dumb. Cool. Well, this was a super fun day of opening toys. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me while I did that. Got to dig out some of my favorites. We will continue in the future. Yeah, I mean, look, Chip and the car thing. Chip did die, and they replaced him with bd'g. bd'g is also great. bd'g was a great character too. I don't know when the last time bd'g appeared. bd'g had a little storyline with Simon where he was helping out to train him. That was cool. Yeah, I mean, with the correct writers, even these jokey, silly characters can have some good stories. Let's see here. Gnort chases cars. Chip walks in for. Oh, sad times. But good time today. Tomorrow I will be back with Warhammer. Continue working on the Gladiator that my awesome, amazing community, you people funded, and it's coming along really well. So I'll show that. I've worked on it a little bit on Saturday night during the Homebuddies group crafting hobby stream. So I'll show you what I accomplished then and where we're going with it. And I got in my shoulder pad accessories. So I'll show you what those look like and talk about how I'm going to be implementing them. That'll be tomorrow. And that is it for us today. I don't have any Sting to play us out, but if you know what I'm talking about, you'll get the joke. Otherwise, have an awesome rest of your Tuesday, everybody. Go do something fun and nice, and I'll see everybody tomorrow. No rating, just saying bye. Okay, bye.